Morning, all. We're gonna do some comics today. Hey, Raducci. It's been a while. How are you doing? Well, best wishes for 2023. Background, do you mean the one I'm drawing now? Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's all my comic stuff. It was never meant to actually, when I set it up, it wasn't meant to be a particular background for the Twitch or anything, but it turned out, to be in the right place. I bought myself a little Christmas present as well, and I bought like a decent microphone, finally. How's it sounding? Is it sounding okay? Is it too loud? Too silent? Is the sound? Yeah, is the sound okay? That's great. Yeah, and go for it, man. I'm super interested to see what you come up with. Really? On Twitch, you mean? That shouldn't be the case. Maybe on Discord. All right. I don't know why that is because I'm not a private channel, right? Yeah, I'll investigate after the stream. Oh, let me check. That's weird. Yeah, I'll look at the settings. That's really weird. That shouldn't be the case. It did say something about a like a shield mode or something this morning. Maybe it's that. All right, right. Hold on. Yeah, that's weird. It's all part of this shield mode. I've turned it off now because I don't know, it just suggested to turn on the shield mode and I just clicked on it. But it should be off now. Everyone should be able to chat now. Yeah, for sure. I don't know, it's weird. Like these shields, I understand why they're there, but I mean on a small stream like this, I don't think I'm gonna get hammered with like racist slurs or anything. No, I haven't seen it. Is it good? Sounds interesting though. I mean, the man can draw, right? Or he could. Oh man, that sounds so cool. I gotta look into that. I was looking for a new comic to read anyway, so maybe I'm gonna go for that one. I'm just about to finish Dead Texas Blood, which is really good. Dead Texas Blood. It's pretty cool. It's from well, the artist is Jacob Phillips, who's Sean Phillips' son. It's got a bit of the same vibe going, but he's really good. Man, I hate drawing hats. I can never get them right. Oh wow, that sounds really cool. Who's it from? What kind of style is it? I love those sorts of stories. I'm also like a big sucker for, you know, the kind of Groundhog Day type stories. Oh, that's really cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up for sure. I've also had Witches on my list from Scott Snyder, I think. Hey, Rascalito. Yeah, I've been looking to get into manga to be honest, but I'm not sure where to really start. Like it's like such a I don't know, like it's a whole other world, right? So where do you start if you want to read, you know, the best one first? I had my hands on what was the one from Sunji Ito, I think. Is that his name? The guy that does all the horror, and that looked really really awesome. Yeah, yeah, Roducci, take your time, man. So yeah, any recommendations as well about side of Blade of the Immortal? if you would recommend like one manga, where would you start? Yeah, I was thinking the same. Yeah, I've seen the movie, and that's kind of what holding me back about for the comic. I mean, that said, it just looks amazing, right? So it's probably just worth getting, even if you've read, even if you've seen the movie. But yeah, story wise, I don't think. I mean, if you've seen the movie, it's obviously spoiled. Have you read any of the Sunji Ito stuff? Yeah, it looks crazy creepy. Looks very interesting though. Like with the one with the spirals is the one that I find very interesting. Was it good? It's weird. Like that's why I feel like manga is like such an obscure. It's a totally different way of reading as well, right? So that's why I want to start with one that's immediately gonna get me hooked. I don't know if that's a good idea. They seem like I don't know. They churn out stories and mangas. Wow. If you see some of the some of the IPs, they're like 20 books long or something, right? Hey, Quartz Creations. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well, Rascalito. Oh man, yeah. That sounds insane. Like 22 books. That's crazy. The dedication though, that's really cool. That's why I want to, I want to get into one that like part of me also, part of that attracts me as well. Like I want to get into one that I can hold on to for, X amount of books. It's very rare that a story gets me that hooked that that I can stick with it for that long. Yeah, course creation, go for it. Well, how far are you? What are you close to finishing it? That's great. Still fresh then. Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, I keep forgetting. Like these nicknames are they're always very confusing. But yeah, I saw some stuff from your book one. That was looking amazing. That's on is it on Webtoon? Where did you post it? Man, I can't remember what the font was that I usually use for. Ah, right, right. So exciting, man. Like doing book two, oh man, that's a faraway dream for me. I'm still plowing away at book one. Yeah, I suppose if I can ever get my book one out the door. I mean, I'm not too worried about somehow getting it released. It's more the, what's the right way to release it, right? Back issues, that's the one I think. Here we go. That's the one. I love this font. If you're ever interested in using it, this is a really good one. Glambot actually, I mean, that's my go-to place for fonts. They uh they have a lot of good fonts. And yeah, I gotta do what feels comfortable, I guess, but hmm, this feels big. Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, fonts are a big part of it, right? I don't know if you guys know the podcast Comic Lab. It's a really good podcast about making comics. They're a little bit more catered towards, you know, the kind of comic strips and a little bit more humoristic. But the info they're given is really valid. Uh, this is Clip Studio Pro. If you're not familiar, it's I can highly recommend it. It's a little bit unsure what the future for it holds because they used to be like, I mean it still is, but it's gonna change somewhere this year where they're gonna upgrade to 2.0 or something. I can't I don't know what the number is, but they up until now it's been like you pay once and then you have the program forever, which is really incredible. I mean, some of the stuff in here is if not better than Photoshop, it's at least, you know, there's a lot of shortcuts and stuff in here that Photoshop doesn't have. Yeah, I love it a lot. One of the big things I've used on Jacksters is it's got a whole 3D. I'll show you in a minute, but it's got a whole 3D system where you can use mannequins to pose, and it just speeds things up so much. I mean, I still recommend learning how to pose your own characters, but it's incredible how much time it can save you in layout. You know, when it doesn't really matter in layout stage. You know, no one's gonna care in layout stage if you've actually drawn the perspective yourself. So it's really just about getting things down so it reads and it forms like a nice sequence. And that could save you so much time. And you can upload your own 3D models, and it's got a whole. One of the things I like about it as well is it's got a whole asset library in just in Clip Studio itself. A lot of the stuff in there is free, and you could buy some stuff with some, I don't know, Clippy points or whatever. But you could download like cars and all sorts of 3D geometry that can help you speed things along. Yeah, you should definitely. I mean, and it's again, it's a bit unsure what the future is going to hold for Clip Studio because they are going to go to like a subscription model like Photoshop, which is a little bit annoying. But on the other hand, like they are, you know, they are listening to their community. Like they're not, you know, Clip Studio is it used to be called Manga Studio, and it's made for artists like us. You know, it's made for comic artists. So everything in this software is kind of catered in one way or another towards illustrators or painters. Whereas Photoshop originally was, you know, made for photo editing, right? So Adobe listens less, I think, to their artist community or their, you know, their illustrator side of the community, and more towards they listen more to graphic designers and photographers. Yeah, that's true. I mean, nothing beats the fundamentals. That's why I feel like you can use these mannequins to speed things up, but that it shouldn't be a shortcut to not learning the fundamentals. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I've made these mistakes myself. Like I'm a sucker for shortcuts, and I've certainly used a lot of shortcuts in my career to kind of get where I want to be. And I mean, in hindsight, like I feel like I could have sped things up a lot, and I could have learned more and more efficiently if I just didn't do that. But you know, I mean, I'm not gonna complain. Like I am where I am today by doing that. There's only so many hours in a day, right? So you gotta be wise with how you spend them. And at the end of the day, like for me, it's all about speed. Like doing Jacksters has learned me one thing, and that is that you can't be precious about your process. And you know, if you talk to any storyboarder or you talk to any comic artist, all they're gonna say is you know do what's fastest and what I mean. You can't ignore quality, right? Like you still want to put out quality. But if you're planning on doing like a graphic novel of 240 pages, I mean, I suppose you could spend 20 years on that, but I'm certainly not the kind of guy that wants to do that. Oof, this is a lot of text for one balloon. Yeah, that's what I was saying about speed, man. You gotta just churn it out very fast. That's at least that's my mo. Like I try to get everything down very very quickly, and then I go back in and but maybe that's because I know myself. If I start to focus too much on smaller detail too soon, then I'm doomed. Like I'm just gonna keep noodling until I have no time left. Hmm, this is so much text. I don't know. Oh, thank you. I mean, I feel like I'm just I don't know. I've done a lot of work on Jackster, so I think that's where I got that speed. I remember doing like the first pages of Jacksters, and it was just I don't know. It was just very slow. I think you get that speed from doing it a lot. And that's exactly why I was saying that of the using the mannequins. Anything you can do to just make this part of the process speed along, it's gonna help. Mm. No worries, man. I mean, speed is not everything either. You gotta pace yourself on your own speed. Like you shouldn't speed up for the sake of speeding up. But it does come with a little bit of practice, and then I think the best practice is just doing it a lot. So in that sense, doing like a 240-page comic is, I mean, that is certainly a way to get the speed in your hands. Mm. I mean, Christ, these balloons are. Uh, Man, I'm not sure about these balloons. I'm gonna, let's see. I mean, this is exactly it, right? Like sometimes you get into these little small problems, and what I used to do is just fixate on those until I had them, I had them fixed. Nowadays, I don't know. If I can't figure it out, I just leave it the way it is and then circle back around to it later. Right. So that's all text. Let me show you how the mannequins work, because again, I feel like it's really awesome. I've downloaded like a million poses as well, which are also very helpful, like this one. You just put it in there, rotate the camera, and boom. Yeah, it's insane. And I mean, you can do all sorts of crazy stuff with these. You can, like, these are just simple poses, right? Which is basically what I use them for. But you could force, there's like a bunch of settings. You could change the lighting on them very, very easily. Even if it's just for reference, it's just super, super useful. And then you could go in and like these are super light as well, which is that is the most insane thing to me about it. Like they're really lightweight. So you could have like a whole spread full of these. You could have like 100 of these characters in your panels, and it still wouldn't really bog down the program. And especially for like very complicated poses, it's really handy. And perspectives, like if you're high up like this, it's really easy. You could change hand poses as well, like separately. You could change everything about these poses. They're like fully rigged characters. Um, Curvilinear, I haven't tried that. I don't think that's possible. But there is like a what they call manga perspective, which is, let me show you very quickly. Let's say you've got like a really, like some spectacular pose like this, right? You can you could really change the focus of the camera so that it becomes like really extreme perspective by just scrolling the mouse wheel. So it just puts it everything in like this really extreme perspective. Which is just super, I mean, it's super cool to just play around with and just to see what's possible with a pose. Yeah, what you do get is like these really wooden and stiff feeling poses, right? So like it's really for tracing over it, it's not always as useful. You could trace over it, I suppose, but you still kind of need to understand what's going on. Otherwise, you get these really stiff looking humans. Yeah, it's still linear. I'm not sure if there's like a curve in it. Um, they might add that in the new version. In the new version, if you look it up, it's really insane. It's got this like which is already it's already part of this version as well. But you could upload like any picture that you pose yourself, and then it recreates that pose on the mannequin. So you could just post some stuff for your webcam or whatever, and just upload it, and it it does that pose in 3D, and then you can look around and move the camera. Yeah, it's crazy. And they've got like a new in the new version, they're gonna have something that does the same with hands. So you could just and you could use that one live. So you could just look at your webcam and pose your hand the way you want it, and it'll automatically update that in Clip Studio. That's just bonkers to me. Like that is, I don't know. Well, that's what I was saying, right? Like I feel like it shouldn't be used as a shortcut, because then you get like these really, like there is a big difference between just tracing some of these and then just actually understanding what's going on and making them do what you want them to do. So you still have to understand the fundamentals. The only thing it just saves is the same as with perspective grids, right? Like instead of spending 20 minutes drawing your own perspective grid with rulers like architects used to do, you can now just get that done in 30 seconds. So to me, I treat it the same way as that. Like it's just a tool to speed things up, but it shouldn't be used as like a replacement for for understanding and for fundamentals. Yeah, it's true. I mean, and again, like I've been guilty of that as well. Like, but it just comes around and bites you in the ass after a while. Like, there's just no shortcut for understanding the fundamentals. That's why I feel like I mean, not to go back to the AI conversation, but we had a long conversation about that in our art department yesterday, and it's there's still always gonna be someone, I think, that needs to curate, or at least I hope so, for the coming years. And you can only curate these kind of things if you understand what's going on. Like, you can't replace good understanding for. Yeah, I mean, you can't replace that with just cheating. And you could tell that from the people that are currently prompting AI. You can still see. I mean, you could think whatever you want about AI, but you can still tell if someone prompted something and has an artistic eye for the result of that. They obviously didn't have to draw it themselves, which is a bit frustrating, but you still have to understand composition, and you still have to understand what makes a good image in order for you to be able to draw or prompt a good image or be able to curate that image out of it. If you've got 1,000 images, you'd still need artistic eye to pick and choose the right image from those 1,000 images. Which to a large degree I think is what art direction is, right? Like, you sift through the murk and the mud and you just come up with the best possible combination of images. I mean, that at least is part of what, that at least is what it feels like. feel like a state trooper needs like a mustache. You kind of always go for these archetypes, right? Love that. Oh yeah, yeah. I think I want to make him a little bit older though. But yeah, something like that. I mean, part of this challenge, I suppose, is that I also don't want to. I just want to take a random page and just do like a, like a fun interpretation of that without actually having to go back and read the whole script in order to understand, the exact time of day and the full context of who these characters are. So there's probably going to be some discrepancies, I think, between between the actual artist and then my interpretation of it. But that's why I was saying, like, the focus for me, at least on this, is just to this is mostly just to focus on storytelling and layout and that kind of stuff. Stuff like this, right? Where I've drawn him with a cigarette in the first panel. So, I mean, that cigarette is not at all important for the story. But I do love to kind of to keep continuity a little bit and then just seeing him resolve that. Even if it's just like I'm just gonna do right here, right, where he's just gonna throw a cigarette on the ground. I don't want to make like a meal out of it where he stomps on it or anything, but just something so that you can track. Oh right, like he put out a cigarette. That was actually one of the more difficult things I figured, when I was doing Jacksters, that was one of the more difficult things, just to keep that continuity and keeping track of like whatever's happening. Like, I made it difficult on myself, I suppose, because in one of the in that very first chapter, which the story kind of circles back around to after a while, but one of the characters loses his boot. And so for the rest of the comic, I had to keep thinking about, all right, he has, on one foot, he's barefooted on one side. That was a real, I mean, that was really exhausting because I also had to constantly keep track of which foot it was. It's the same with, like, but I suppose movies kind of do it all the time as well, right? Like, it's when a character gets punched in the face or something, and then he's bruised or whatever, and then they lose track of that. And after two shots, he's suddenly not bruised anymore. I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of that. Like, I'm certainly. Part of it is also, and I think Jacksters, because it's so, it's meant to evoke those feelings of Indiana Jones. So there's like a sort of heroicism to it where you want your characters to constantly feel like they're they're like heroic characters, right? So you always want them to feel like they're best. But I do love like a good story where they don't do that, and where they, you know, where they end up making their characters feel dirty and worn and ugly. It's just that this isn't that story. Yeah, it's true. There's always people that gonna, especially, the work that I do for Axis kind of has that problem as well. But you always have people that freeze frame through the entire, show that you do, and then just they point it out immediately. And it doesn't take long. Like as soon as you drop something on YouTube, it takes like half an hour and someone goes like, "Hey, this is missing," or yeah. But I mean, I appreciate that as well. Like it just means that people are paying attention. I don't mind it at all. To me, continuity takes a backseat to it just looking cool. Here's another good clip studio tool, like this lasso fill. I've talked about that before, but I love this tool, where you can just drag and it fills it. It speeds things up so much. Another awesome tool, but I very often tend to draw very loosely. Like I'm not a big fan of like comics that are too perfect and where all the lines are like perfectly connected and like they're perfect beziers, and I love for it to be a little bit more sketchy, so it makes it more difficult to use that tool. But there's this tool where if you create like a full circle, or you create like, I don't know, like any shape, and you connect it through, you could set it to like as a reference layer, and then you could create like a separate layer and use a tool like this, right? Where, let me see, I have no idea what it's called, but this little boop icon, I've downloaded it from the asset store. But if you use it on a reference layer, oh, sorry, and you close your gaps, then you could just use it as like a tool to fill holes. So you just circle around something and it immediately fills it, which is like super easy for, when you start flattening your layers. And the difference between that and using, like the fill bucket is that this thing, you circle an entire shape and it does it with everything within that shape. So it's not just, you don't have to manually fill bucket every closed shape. And it also does a little bit of overlap. So, which is in comics, that is really important. So you get like your line work. And if you just use the fill bucket, it usually, I mean, you could set the fill bucket in Clip Studio to not do that as well. But with this tool especially, you get like a little bit of it takes a couple pixels extra from your line work, so there's always overlap and there's never this small pixelated white space between your line work and your color. Yeah, it's Clip Studio has blown my mind, to be honest. Here's another really cool thing. I feel like I'm a salesperson for Clip Studio at the moment. But this is something I recently discovered that I can't live without anymore. It's if you Control Shift and click on a layer, it immediately jumps to that layer. So let's say you want to work on this one, right? You just Control Shift click on it, and boom, you're in that layer, and you can just start drawing instead of having to go look for the layer in the layer panel. So it can make you immediately jump between layers and between it's a small optimization, but it saves so much time. Like I find myself in Photoshop constantly looking for layers. It also makes it so you can work just a little bit dirtier on your in your groups. Yeah, it's a bit like I had trust issues at the start as well. But as soon as you get the hang of it, it it really does help. Because it always takes the top layer, so you can never really get confused, and you can never really I mean, it's really small things like that, but it just optimized everything for for comic artists, really. Another thing, and I've put this in as like a hotkey, is that there's this thing called uh, convert brightness to opacity, which I've set to like Control Shift R, and it makes everything like it just if you've got like a layer with like black and white and gray and whatever, it immediately makes it an alpha channel, or like it removes everything that's not black. So it makes gray pixels transparent pixels. So once you've done your line work and you just hit that one button, it immediately converts everything to just pure black, which for printing is really important. I love this happy accident, you know, where her hat is like slightly being pushed up by his head. It's like little details like that that I love in a story, you know, like it just makes it feel a little bit more real. Yeah, it's true, it's true. And especially, I mean, it's been all the rage in Asia for a while. Like if you look at Clip Studios sort of showcase, like a lot of the images in there are manga inspired images. Right. I'm gonna call it a day. This feels like a right place to stop. I feel like sketch stage is done. On Thursday, I'm gonna pick this back up again and do some inks on top of this. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and see you on Thursday. Take care, all. Yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. Thanks for joining, Reducci. I appreciate it a lot. See you, man. Yeah, you too.